They humiliated me at Christmas, and everyone laughed like it was harmless fun. At least that's what they told themselves. It happened at my parents' house, the same place where every holiday was supposed to feel safe. The living room was glowing with warm yellow lights, the Christmas tree overdressed in ornaments my mother had collected over decades. Laughter filled the air. Glasses clinked, music played softly in the background. On the surface, it looked perfect. I should have known better. I stood near the fireplace, holding a paper cup of cider, listening more than speaking, like I always did at family gatherings. I wasn't the loud one. I wasn't the favorite. I was the one people talked about, not to. My sister Claire was already in performance mode. She always was. Confident, sharp-tongued, effortlessly charming in a way that made people lean toward her without realizing it. She loved an audience, especially when that audience included extended family and a few guests who didn't really know me. So, she said suddenly, raising her voice just enough to pull attention, has anyone asked him how work is going? Heads turned. Smiles formed. That familiar tightening started in my chest. I answered calmly, "It's going fine." Claire laughed. Not a cruel laugh, worse. A playful one. The kind people use when they want to sound joking, but still land the hit. "Fine?" she repeated. "That's interesting." Last I heard, fine meant barely surviving. A few people chuckled. Someone coughed awkwardly. My mother smiled nervously, pretending not to hear. My father stayed quiet, eyes on his plate. Claire wasn't done. "Remember last Christmas," she continued, "when he said he was working on something big? Every year it's something big. Every year it's just words." Laughter spread wider this time. Not loud, but comfortable. Safe laughter. Group laughter. I felt at that moment when you realize you're not in the room with allies. You're in a room with spectators. I could have defended myself. I could have explained. I could have said what I'd actually been building, the meetings I'd been taking, the risks I'd been carrying alone. But experience had taught me something important. Explanations never sound impressive to people who already decided you're a joke. So I stayed quiet. Claire tilted her head, pretending concern. "I'm just worried about you. You know, still living modestly. Still driving that old car. It's Christmas. Don't you want more?" Someone laughed again. Someone else said, "She's just teasing. That's how humiliation hides." Wrapped in jokes. Covered in smiles. Dinner continued, but I barely tasted the food. Every now and then, Claire or someone else would slip in another comment. About ambition. About success. About how some people peak early and then stall. No one stopped it. Not my mother. Not my cousins. Not my father. And that hurt more than the jokes. By the time dessert came out, I excused myself and stepped outside into the cold. The night air hit my face, sharp and clean. My hands shook not from the cold, but from the effort of holding everything in. I stood on the porch, staring at the quiet street, listening to laughter through the walls behind me. I realized something then. They weren't laughing with me. They were laughing at the version of me they needed to believe in. The failure. The underachiever. The one they could feel superior to. I went back inside, said polite goodbyes, wished everyone a Merry Christmas. Claire hugged me and whispered, "You'll figure it out someday." I smiled. That night I went home alone. No dramatic exit. No confrontation. Just silence. But while they slept comfortably, certain they put me in my place, I stayed awake. Not angry. Focused, because what they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was that the meeting scheduled for the next morning wasn't just another meeting. It was the one that would change everything. And by morning, no one would be laughing. The morning after Christmas felt different. Quiet, heavy, like the world was holding its breath. I woke up before my alarm, not because I was nervous, but because my mind was clear in a way it hadn't been in years. No rehearsing conversations, no imagining arguments, just focus. I showered, dressed simply, and drove through empty streets while most of the city slept off. Leftovers and laughter. The same people who had laughed at me the night before were probably still convinced nothing had changed. They were wrong. The meeting started at 9 a.m. sharp. Glass walls, neutral smiles, coffee untouched. I sat across from people who had spent months analyzing numbers most others never bothered to look at closely. This wasn't a pitch anymore. It was a decision. When the final document slid across the table, no one raised their voice. No one celebrated. That's how serious things happen quietly. By 10:17 a.m., it was done. I stepped outside into the daylight, phone vibrating non-stop in my pocket. Missed calls, messages, notifications stacking faster than I could read them. I didn't answer any of them. I drove home instead. By noon, the news started moving. Not public headlines yet, but whispers, emails, sudden urgency in places that had ignored me for years. That's when my father called. I let it ring twice before answering. His voice was different. Not angry, not disappointed, unsteady. "Can you come by?" he said. Not asked. "We need to talk." When I arrived at my parents' house, the atmosphere had shifted completely. The same living room that had echoed with laughter now felt tight, like the walls had moved closer. Claire was sitting on the couch, arms crossed, phone face down beside her. My mother hovered in the kitchen, pretending to rearrange things that didn't need rearranging. My father stood near the window. No one spoke at first. Then Claire broke the silence, her confidence thinner than I'd ever heard it. "So, people have been calling?" I nodded. I imagined they would. She tried to laugh. It didn't land. "Why didn't you tell us?" I looked at her, really looked. "You never asked." My mother turned. "We didn't know it was this serious." "That's because," I said calmly, "you already decided who I was." Silence again. My father finally moved. Slowly. He reached for his hand and did something none of us expected. He removed his wedding ring. Not dramatically. Not angrily. He set it down on the table like a symbol he was done hiding behind. Then he spoke 4 words. "I failed you here. No excuses. No explanations. Just truth." Claire's face changed in that moment. The jokes. The teasing. The comfort of being the one on top, all of it cracked. "I was joking," she said quietly. "It was Christmas." "No," my father said, voice steady now. "It was cruelty dressed as humor." He turned to me. "You were humiliated in this house. And I let it happen." My mother's eyes filled, but she didn't interrupt. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel angry either. I felt something far more powerful. Seen. "I don't need apologies," I said. I needed respect. And when I didn't get it, I stopped explaining myself. Claire swallowed. "So what happens now?" I thought about it for a second. "Now," I said, "things change. Or I leave quietly and permanently. Your choice." That was the moment they understood something they never had before. I wasn't asking. I wasn't defending. I wasn't waiting. I was done shrinking. That afternoon, word spread fast. Family members who had laughed avoided eye contact. Messages shifted tone. Suddenly everyone remembered moments of believing in me. I didn't correct them. Because the truth was simple. The humiliation didn't break me. The silence after taught me everything. And by the end of that day, no one was laughing, not because I'd won, but because the story they told themselves about me had finally collapsed. Sometimes the strongest response isn't revenge. It's reality arriving on time.